Hey guys, Pete here. Today I'm going to do a video that is a follow-up to a video I did a few months back. It's related indirectly to some of the spoilers that have been coming out of Season 7's filming locations, but don't worry, I'm not going to go into any of those here. If you want to know more about that, you can check out my Game of Thrones Season 7 spoilers playlist to watch those. This will contain spoilers for things that have happened through Season 6 though, so if you're not caught up with the show, you've officially been warned. With all that out of the way, let's get right into it. As mentioned, I did a video a few months back about Jon Snow riding a dragon. It talked about the history of dragons and dragon riders and discussed the theory of whether it made sense that Jon would become a rider of one of Daenerys' 3 dragons that she's hatched. At the time, even though it's been something I've considered to be a foregone conclusion, I just put the question out there, like, could he be a dragon rider? This video is more about why he definitely, without a doubt, is a rider, and why his mount will be Rhaegal specifically. At least according to my speculation. In the show, we don't get much in the way of history regarding dragons. We just know that Daenerys has some and that it's a big deal. It's not that way because the historical clues aren't there, it's just because it isn't that important to the story so far. In the A Song of Ice and Fire books, we get a lot more details about what Westeros was like before King Robert took the Iron Throne. We also learn a ton about past Targaryen kings and their dragons in the World of Ice and Fire book and the 2 George R. R. Martin short stories, The Rogue Prince and The Princess and the Queen. For this video, I'll do a quick overview of dragon riders. As far as dragons themselves, there are a few different ideas about where they originated from. Septon Barth, who was a common-born person who became the hand of King Jaehaerys I, wrote extensively about them. In his work, Unnatural History, he considered several legends regarding the origins of dragons. The Valyrians claim that dragons sprang forth from the 14 Flames, which is a ring of volcanoes on the peninsula where Valyria is. Meanwhile, in Qarth, tales state that dragons came from a second moon in the sky, which was scalded by the sun and cracked like an egg. From there, 1,000,000 dragons poured forth. In Ashai, however, there are many tales, some that are super ancient, which claim that dragons first appeared on the Shadowlands, and a people so ancient they have no name first tamed these dragons. They brought them to Valyria and taught the Valyrians their arts before departing from history altogether. Barth also put forth the theory that dragons were created by the blood mages of the Freehold using wyvern stock. Those are similar creatures, but they don't breathe fire, so they're saying that there was some sort of blood magic involved with turning them into the dragons that we know now. Regardless of any of that, the Valyrians mastered the art of riding dragons and using them as weapons of war to carve out a massive empire. Of course, after the Doom, the only Valyrian family that survived with their dragons were the Targaryens. Due to their time in Westeros that they ruled, we know an awful lot about dragons up until most of them died off in the civil war known as the Dance of the Dragon. The most important thing we know related to this video is that they do not just let anyone ride them. They appear to be very selective about who they allow to become their rider. I want to emphasize the word allow here, and this isn't a process where there are professional, dragon tamers or something like that who teach them to take a rider. They aren't horses. It's a natural process, and if the dragon isn't feeling the person that's trying to ride them, it ends up with that person dying. During the dance, several people learned this the hard way when they tried to mount the unclaimed dragons that were around that no one was riding at the time. Having Valyrian heritage might be a factor in whether you'll live through jumping on a dragon's back or not, but just keep in mind that there are tons of people that have a little bit of Valyrian blood passed down through different bastards and different things, so it's kind of hard to say if that's the case or not. In other words, being descended from the blood of old Valyria is probably helpful, but it doesn't mean you must be a Targaryen to ride a dragon. The Targaryens were one of many Valyrian Dragonlord families, and George R. R. Martin has specifically said that you don't have to be a Targ to bond with a dragon. Also, we have the case of Quentyn Martell, who has Targaryen blood, but still got fried by Rhaegal when he tried to approach Viseryon in the books. What is known is that once a dragon bonds with a rider, that dragon will not allow anyone else to mount it while that rider lives. Though dragons will allow new riders once their previous rider is deceased. No rider, though, has ever ridden a different dragon while his or her current dragon was alive. Make note of that, and to drive this point home, listen to this passage from The Princess and the Queen. We shall not pretend to any understanding of the bond between dragon and dragon rider. Wiser heads have pondered that mystery for centuries. We do know, however, that dragons are not horses to be ridden by any man who throws a saddle on their back. Syrax was the queen's dragon. She had never known another rider. Though Prince Joffrey was known to her by sight and scent, a familiar presence whose fumbling at her chains excited no alarm, the great yellow she-dragon wanted no part of him astride her. In his haste to be away before he could be stopped, the prince had vaulted onto Syrax without benefit of saddle or whip. His intent, we must presume, was either to fly Syrax into battle or, more likely, to cross the city to the dragon pit and his own Tyraxes. Mayhaps he meant to loose the other dragon pit dragons as well. Joffrey never reached the hill of Rhaenys. Once in the air, Syrax twisted beneath him, fighting to be free of this unfamiliar rider. And from below, stones and spears and arrows flew at him from the hands of the riders below, maddening the dragon even further. 200 feet above Flea Bottom, Prince Joffrey slid from the dragon's back and plunged to the earth. Near a juncture where 5 alleys came together, the prince's fall came to its bloody end. He crashed first onto a steep pitched roof before rolling off to fall another 40 feet amidst a shower of broken tiles. We are told that the fall broke his back, that shards of slate rained down about him like knives, that his own sword tore loose of his hand and pierced him through the belly. In Flea Bottom, men still speak of a candlemaker's daughter named Robin, who cradled the broken prince in her arms and gave him comfort as he died. But there is more of legend than history in that tale. "Mother, forgive me," Joffrey supposedly said with his last breath, though men still argue whether he was speaking of his mother, the queen, or praying to the mother above. Thus perished Joffrey Viseryon, Prince of Dragonstone and heir to the Iron Throne, the last of Queen Rhaenyra's sons, by Laenor Velaryon, or the last of her bastards by Sir Harwin Strong, depending on which truth one chooses to believe. So basically, Joffrey Velaryon was a dragon rider. He had a dragon, he had the ability to ride, but when he tried to mount his mother's, it threw him off her back and killed him. So this is the evidence that, it's not all that simple who can or can't ride a dragon, but it is pretty simple that once someone has claimed one, that no one else can ride that dragon. There seems to be a special bond between a dragon and its rider. A dragon might be able to sense when its current rider is in distress or has died. This is implied in the case of the dragon Dreamfire, who, despite being locked and chained in the dragon pit, sensed when her rider, Helaena Targaryen, committed suicide in Maegor's Holdfast. At the moment of Helena's death, Dreamfire rose suddenly with a roar that shook the dragon pit and snapped 2 of the chains that bound her. So what does this mean about the 3 dragons that are alive in Westeros right now? First of all, we know that Dany has claimed Drogon and she is his rider. While she's alive, no one else will ride him. That leaves the other 2, Rhaegal and Viserion, who are named for her 2 brothers, Rhaegar and Viserys. As was confirmed by Bran's Tower of Joy flashback in Season 6, Jon is Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark's son. He has the blood of the dragon, and while there isn't any direct evidence to say that he's one of the heads of the dragon, why would it be anybody else? By this point, even without the last 2 books being written, it's hard to form an opinion about the series overall without pointing to Jon and Daenerys as 2 of the most important characters. And why set up a backstory with so much lore related to dragons, prophecy, and everything else if the 3 dragons Dany hatched aren't vital to a conclusive battle at the end? I think that even though George R.R. Martin is very good at making turns that you wouldn't expect, this isn't one of those cases. It's my opinion, and I'm saying opinion, that Jon Snow will become Rhaegal's rider because it makes the most sense. There's no smoking gun clue, but I think everything else just points to it. I mean, I would love to have some sort of textual evidence, but sometimes your gut just says this is what's going to happen, and that's where I'm at with this whole idea. I mean, at the very heart of it all, why make his parentage such a mystery that can and had been solved if you're going to put 3 dragons in the story and then put someone else who isn't Jon Snow on the back of the dragon named after his enigmatic father. And just as food for thought, there is one part of Daenerys' House of the Undying vision that I think hints at it. It definitely hinted at his parentage before that was known, but I think it also can be applied to his connection to Daenerys' dragons. It reads, "A blue flower grew from a chink in a wall of ice and filled the air with sweetness." This vision draws a direct connection between Lyanna Stark, who loved blue roses, the song of Bale the Bard, who eloped with with Lord Stark's daughter, leaving a blue rose in her place, and then had a child with her, and Jon Snow, who was at the wall. This was an important clue for many people before R+L=J was confirmed in the show. The second half of the quote doesn't get as much attention, but I think it hints to more than just Jon's parentage. The air being filled with sweetness sounds a lot like it means that Jon will be important, very important, to Daenerys herself. That could mean that they would fall in love or something along those lines, or it could mean that he will be at her side at the point when she fulfills the role or her destiny or whatever you want to call it. I tend to lean towards the second option and think it all just makes sense. Of course, you guys can tell me why you think I'm wrong in the comments. I could very well be. Let me know what you think either way, and be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Since the first book giveaway that we did went so well, I have decided to start another one. This time I'm giving away one of those awesome looking 20th anniversary editions of the book A Game of Thrones. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment to enter. If you're curious about how it all works, watch my Dragonstone video to see how the picking process went on the last one. It'll be exactly the same. This time when I reach 28,000 subscribers, I'll pick a comment from one of the videos I put out in that time and send that person who left the comment a copy of the book. It's pretty simple and you might just win. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.